Hey everybody, wanted to send out this week's mentality tip. And this mentality tip, I want to talk about, again, a fundamental or a real core warrior belief. And this one basically is that warriors are normal and warrior reactions are normal. Okay, so right at the beginning when we say that warriors are normal, it's kind of like, kind of tough to get why that's a core warrior belief. But let me explain it a little bit more. One of the things that I've seen, I think it's something that I can say that I've felt myself, and more importantly I've seen in other warriors over the years with training, is that it ties into kind of that Hollywood bullshit and the myths that we have surrounding warriors. I think probably one of the hardest questions to answer is, what is a warrior? You know what I mean? Every single person literally can have a different description of what a warrior is. Unfortunately, for those people most likely outside of our warrior community, their definition and their idea of what a warrior is comes mostly from the Hollywoodisms. You know what I mean? The John Waynes, the Rambos, that type of thing, where they see warriors, they see these Hollywood warriors participating in combat, and basically what Hollywood tries to tell us is that killing is easy. We can go outside the law, we can do what needs to be done, and we can do it without any type of real physiological or psychological outcomes or any kind of repercussions. And why I come back to the fact that warriors are normal is this is built up in us over the years. The fact that warriors really still have this conflicting belief within them. That was last mentality tip. I started talking about conflicting beliefs, and warriors have this still small conflicting belief in them somewhere. So it comes to that identity belief that the things that they feel in response to conflict, combat, interpersonal human aggression, they still hold on to these little dark spots where they go, what I felt is not normal. And what we strive to do right from our entry point into this community, our beginner combat schools, we start having lectures. We start each day off with lectures, and the lectures are really about introducing people into the realities of combat, the realities of warriorship, and what it is to be a warrior. And if you guys have never read this book, but it's called The Gates of Fire, and it's about the Spartans, but even throughout the whole book, it's laced with this great warrior community, the Spartans in Lacedonia, and it's laced with the fact of how they learned to control fear, the fear of the flesh, the fear of man. So it is a normal warrior response. But here's the thing, we have these lectures that start to educate people to the realities. We talk about the effects of SNS, we talk about even blowing the ballast, so defecating or urinating yourself, and how it's normal. And all of these different things, the digestive system shuts down, and causing the butterflies, the vasoconstriction, so you don't feel your arms, so you get that rubber legs, or you can't feel your hands, and all of these things are normal. The problem is that intellectually we can start to understand that, we can start to override what Hollywood has been telling us and what we thought we knew about combat. Remember, part of this could even get deeper, because if we've heard stories about our fathers and our uncles and people that are closer to us, more first, second-hand experience, but people within our inner circle, and hear about their combat experiences, they're not talking about the fear they felt. They're not talking about the physiological manifestations of that intense stressors and conflict. So what we're hearing is this story that's been Hollywoodized. You know what I mean? And it's not an intentional thing, but it's one of the two areas that men have always accepted lying about, and that's sex and combat. So what happens is, even though as a warrior walking your path and you start to get exposed to the realities of combat, and you start to understand a lot of our physiological responses and a lot of even our perceptual based responses, which is why this whole mentality series is about warrior perceptions, about beliefs and value systems. It's to help do exactly what I'm talking about. Even though you have all of this new experience and when you start feeling these things, you get even to just a verbal conflict. It's like you start feeling the physiological changes in your body and the psychological thought process that are going on in your head, and you just go, wow, I understand, that's this, that's this, that's that. The problem is when that conflict ends, when that verbal altercation ends, or when you've been in a situation where you've been surrounded by 4 or 5 people, and something starts to build up, and you're being called out, and you're being called this and being called that, and you're tactically doing the right thing, which is just trying to get out of there, and you end up getting out of there, you now launch into a different type of a battle. there's part of you, that internal dialogue, that starts to really, really question how you felt. It starts to look at the physiological things your body was going through, and the mental processes that were taking place, the internal dialogue that was going on, and it starts to look at it and go, you didn't that, you felt fear, you felt this, you felt that. And so there's a part of you that still hangs on to this, I'm different. You know what I mean? A real warrior like Greg or Paul Vunick or Tom or Drew Dan or those types of individuals, oh, those guys, they wouldn't have felt that. Yeah, they'd have gone through S and S and stuff, but they wouldn't have felt the fear. You felt fear. And so even though you understand the realities of what it is, and we've tried to tell you over and over again that you will feel this way and that it can manifest itself in a certain type of fear. Okay, fear of failure, fear of not doing what you've been trained to do. There's lots of different ways these things manifest. Those are all normal. We still carry with us our dark little sick little secrets that we're somehow different. You still don't feel like you belong. You're in a room full of warriors who you train with for the last 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. You go through the same scenarios. You sweat the same sweat. You bleed the same blood. And yet you still think that somehow you're special and unique. And in those situations, you're somehow lesser than everybody else because you feel fear. You feel things that those guys don't. Okay, and I want you to understand that the reality is that's just not true. Those are normal warrior feelings. Those are normal reactions to combat and stress situations. Okay, so I want you to really examine and look at and make sure you adopt and develop a high level of conviction to understanding that warriors are normal. Those are normal reactions to being in warrior situations, to be in the face of interpersonal human aggression. No matter how unique you think you are, good or bad, you're just like everybody else. Warriors are normal, and warrior reactions to interpersonal aggression and combat are normal. Okay? Think about that. All right. Until next time, take care and come what may.